Hello guys, it's NeverSink bringing you another Path of Exile video. This time is the Oros Flicker Strike Accelerator. This build received its name from its weapon, the two-handed sword Oros Sacrifice, the attack Flicker Strike and the ability to snowball by relying on frenzy charges and powerful uniques. Initially, Flicker Strike is a single target attack with a cooldown. By combining several mechanics, we can generate more frenzy charges than we use and bypass the cooldown, resulting in a character with incredibly fast clear speed, while still being very resilient and tanky. The special part about Flicker Strike is that it's a movement skill. This way we combine a movement and an attack ability and move forward while attacking. This saves us time and gives us a very nice clear speed. A fair word of warning so, the gameplay we see right now is very fun and fast, but it's also very chaotic and unpredictable. So if the gameplay might give you a headache or seizures, I highly advise to stay away from the build. However, if this is of no concern to you and you're looking for a new character to play, I highly recommend giving this build some thoughts. On top of being very fun and fast, this build is also very affordable. You only need a few cares to start off, less than 4 exalted orbs to get the full equipment, with the exception of a headhunter and a 6-link, which are more cherry on top than necessary anyway. So, I suggest we start off with the skill gems this build uses. In our weapon we are running the following setup: Flicker Strike, Multi-Strike, Fire Penetration and Weapon Elemental Damage. If you have a 5-link, add faster attacks. If you got a 6-link, add Fortify into the setup. On its own, Flicker Strike has a cooldown. In order to bypass the cooldown, you have to expend a single frenzy charge each time you attack. In order to gain frenzy charges, we are using two sources. First of all, the sword Oros Sacrifice generates frenzy charges when we ignite enemies. This is why igniting enemies is very important for us. Also, we are running the gem Blood Rage. It's very easy to sustain with our blood regeneration, gives us attack speed and allows us to gain additional frenzy charges when we kill enemies. In our gloves, boots and helmet we are running the following setups. In between mob packs we want to cross the map fast. In order to do so we are using Leap Slam. We link Leap Slam to faster attacks and Fortify. Once you hit a 6-link in your weapon, you can replace Fortify with Blood Magic in order to have no problems at all in no mana regeneration and low mana regeneration maps. Most builds that do not shatter the corpses of their enemies have troubles with porcupines, as you can see in the background right now. In order to avoid the high spike damage from porcupines, which can be actually pretty deadly, I highly recommend running a high level Immortal Core setup, linked with increased duration and cast when damage taken. You can also run Wow Haze in the same link setup. You don't actually need Wow Haze by any means, but I just enjoy the extra movement speed and attack speed bonus. I tested several mana reservation setups and I found this one to be the most effective one. I highly recommend running Flammability and Feeble and Arctic Armor in the new unique helmet Heretic's Veil. I'm also linking Enduring Try in the same link. If you do not have the Heretic's Veil unique, you can run Flammability and Enfeeble in combination with Blasphemy only. However, Arctic Armor provides a valuable defense increase and I highly recommend getting it as soon as possible. Now, let us take a look at the equipment used by this build. Our only true item requirement is Oros Sacrifice. Oros Sacrifice has a beastly chance to ignite and grants us a friendly charge whenever we ignite an enemy. Also, it's pretty cheap, so even the most inexperienced and new player can afford it easily. Another item we want is the unique Jewel Fireborn. Fireborn allows us to convert physical damage into fire damage, and we want to use the Jewel in the duelist area. Luckily, Fireborn is also very cheap and very affordable. Every other item I'm gonna recommend is not actually required for the build to work and to start playing it. However, I feel like some of those items are definitely best in slot and I suggest getting them. Chaos Heart is the best unique armor we can use. By providing us 500 flat life and giving us some fire damage, this item is pretty much beastly for this build, and I highly recommend getting it as soon as possible. In the current economy it costs from 1x to 3x depending on the roles. Another unique item I strongly recommend is Heretic's Veil. Heretic's Veil allows us to run 2 blasphemies by reducing the blasphemy mana reservation, and it also provides us with a free level 22 blasphemy gem. And yes, we lose the quality from not running it manually, but since we're using a Chaos Heart, gem sockets are kind of a luxury, so it's a very useful bonus. I think the Null and Void gloves complement this playstyle perfectly. They give you a lot of life, some defenses and the rampage bonus on top. If you kill enemies in a quick streak, which we pretty much do all the time, you will become faster, stronger, and will also spawn some very strong spells. I'd call them spells like Fire Nova Spikes, Detonate Death, Chains, overall summon, not animate, a lot of weapons to fight for you. So overall I'm really convinced about those gloves. There's 3 options when it comes to builds. A rare build with resistances, armor and elemental weapon damage and also a lot of life. Doriani's Invitation that gives us ignite chance, fire damage, resistances and armor, but barely any life. Or if you have it as a build Headhunter. Now I know Headhunter is very expensive and very hard to get unique, and you will actually see me using it in the video, but it's by no means required for this build. However, if you have it, it will boost your snowballing to a completely new level. Of course you also want some rare items. I recommend running a rare amulet, 2 rare rings and rare boots, but you can also run rare gloves or rare belts. On those items you want to have a lot of life, resistances so you can cap your elemental resists, and also some weapon elemental damage, fire damage, attack speed, movement speed, accuracy. Actually accuracy is quite important, you want 300 to 400 total accuracy, and maybe some dexterity so you can save some skill points in the tree. Finally, let us talk about the flasks. Flasks are actually very important for every successful build. I can recommend running 2 unique flasks. The flask Alciri's Promise, which is actually quite easy to get and costs 1 to 5 chaos stops. This flask will give you quite a bit of bonus damage and will also provide you with an additional life leech and chaos resistance, which is nice. I'm also suggesting to run the unique flask Vessel Winknar. On top of giving us some defenses and some flat lightning damage, which is nice, it gives us some insane life leech, and most importantly it shocks nearby enemies. Shocking nearby enemies translates into a flat 50% more damage for this build. However, it also shocks you, which is also 50% more damage to you. To avoid this part, you need to run another flask that has shock removal. I'd recommend running a ruby flask with shock removal, which will also help you against reflect mobs and fire damage in general. Finally, I suggest using the last 2 flasks for a life flask with anti-bleed, and the final flask for either an armor flask with more armor, a silver flask with more speed, or a silver flask with anti-freeze. When it comes to jewels, I recommend running the Fireborn jewel as told before. Every other jewel socket should be filled with jewels that have some maximum life and some other bonuses. I recommend having at least jewels with 3 useful mods, such as maximum life, attack speed with swords, fire damage, and generally speaking you can refer to the small kind of picture chart you see in the video right now on the left side. Now that we've covered all the items and also talked about jewels, it's the perfect time to talk about the skill tree. I will not be covering every single node in the whole skill tree and telling you why life, more life, even more life, even more life is good. Instead, I'll be talking about the most important and general aspects of the skill tree. First of all, you want the Wrecking Bow and Destroyer nodes. Those nodes are good for leveling, but once you hit a higher level you can actually use Fireborn together with Aura Sacrifice, which is pretty much awesome since it transforms those nodes into fire damage. I also recommend using the whole Hybrid Leech skill tree. This allows you to leech with fire damage and will also give you quite a lot of life leech and will increase your life leech cap. Afterwards you move to the left side, you grab all the life and fire damage and weapon elemental damage nodes on the way. And we finally get to the Elemental Overload. With Elemental Overload, we can increase our total damage by 40%, so it's a total multiplier of 40%. But in order to do this, we have to crit. And we can still miss, so we can't use Elemental Overload together with a Razor technique. Now I feel like this node is very much worth it. First of all, if you take a look at my accuracy, and pretty much the only investment towards the accuracy I did were the two rings. The amulet and the ring, which actually were pretty cheap, and you can get even more accuracy. My chance to hit is now 89% at level 92. Now the accuracy is calculated against enemies of the equal level, and there are no level 92 enemies in the game. The highest enemy you'll ever encounter is level 84. This means that basically your real accuracy is between 91 and 95% depending on the map. So the chance to not hit is actually very small. But we're getting a 40% more damage multiplier, which is pretty much worth it. In addition, the additional chance to crit is also an additional chance to ignite, which is nice. Finally, you could argue that we barely skill any crit, and this is true, but our attack speed is so high that we can actually crit fast enough or often enough to trigger the effect for 8 seconds. I also recommend trying to get the following Boots enchantment: 90% increased critical strike chance if you haven't crit recently. This will boost your critical strike chance to 9.5% and guarantee that Elemental Overload will be up most of the time. Finally, we grab the Dual Curse, and we also grab every single Jewel Circle that is 2 nodes away. If you have a higher level than level 92, you can go for more fire damage, or for more life, or you could go for additional Jewel Circles. Finally, let's discuss our Ascendancy Class for a second. I feel like Slayer is the best choice. On top of providing quite a lot of increased damage and some life leech and some attack speed, the Slayer provides us with 3 major boosts. First of all, our life leech can never be removed. This pretty much turns our life leech into life regeneration, since it's not removed when we hit the full life. Also, as long as we are leeching, we are immune to stun, which saves us 3 nodes, and also allows us still to dodge a little bit. Finally, it also gives us the impact node, which is amazing. This allows us to save a whole link in our weapon map. So instead of running a 6 link with a melee weapon slash, we get the same effect by running a 5 link. So technically we are pretty much running a 7 link thanks to impact. However, there are also some other choices. You could go with Elementalist, Champion, Chieftain, Berserker, Juggernaut, and even Trickster with a different skill tree. But personally, I really enjoyed the gameplay with the Slayer and I highly recommend it. Let's conclude this video with some gameplay advice. When it comes to bandits, you want to help Orc on normal, kill everyone on crew, and help Kraken on merciless. This build cannot run 2 map mods at all, Elemental Reflect and cannot leech from enemies. Those mods are just too dangerous or too annoying to run. However, any kind of curses, any kind of damage mods are usually not a big deal. Also, curse immunity and blood magic is annoying, but it can be run. I didn't try core, but I did run some tier 15 maps and tier 14 maps and they were not a big deal. However, this build struggles against Atziri and Argos because you cannot ignite them. If you are really set on running them, I recommend swapping out your Flicker Strike to Frenzy or Wild Strike or Frostbaits and you'll be totally fine. In fact, I recommend running one of those gems in the off slot in case you want to run Labyrinth and want to kill the Izaros doggy. I didn't find leveling to be too complicated. Just use 2-handed weapons, if you can afford it, grab a Maroki Erki for a few chaos, and you'll be totally fine and leveling pretty quick. Level in Dryad Lake until 68, and afterwards switch to our Flicker Strike, and you'll experience a completely new, different world. Finally, this build has another enemy, as you can see right now. It's called Lag. You're actually pretty tanky, so you can go just right click and do it until some enemies die. I actually did it with a level tier 10 map and backsource with 8 map mods. so you usually will be fine, and you should also take notes that my PC is actually quite old and I was recording at the same time. That being said, this concludes our small video. It's actually not that small. So yeah, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments, or check out the thread, or ask them personally in my live stream. I'm streaming a few times a week. You can find everything in the video description. Finally, I recommend running a loot filter with this build, because you can sometimes move pretty fast and you want to detect those drops with drop sounds. That being said, I appreciate you guys watching it. Have fun, like, subscribe, yada yada social stuff, and I see you around. Stay safe, exiles. Goodbye. This was NeverSink, and the ending was way too long.